everybody. Welcome to the HealthForce podcast. I am Fran Ramsden. RamsdenEliteFitness.com, RamsdenEliteFitness.com. Be sure to, on the top of the page, click Latest Research. There will then populate all of our articles, podcasts, videos, etc. You can filter different ones on the right side using the side menu. But all of our content is based in scientific reality. Okay, scientific reality. Something that this industry struggles with is coming to grips with the truth, putting out positive content, things that are actually based in science and research and are not there just for self-gain or self-praise. It's a very, very unique industry. I'm sure there's individuals across the board that could be quote-unquote selfish in a lot of industries, but I don't know if there is one that can rival the health and fitness industry. And the reason for it is for a few reasons. Number one, most people that purchase things from the fitness industry or go to the gym or get a personal trainer or buy supplements, they're not well educated in all the background of science and research about the human body. And, that's to be expected. Number two, it's an industry, it's an area that's very emotional. Everybody wants to feel great. Everybody wants to look great. Everybody wants to feel confident in the way that they look and feel. So therefore, when somebody comes to you and says, hey, I have a product, there's a miracle supplement, you really need this is what's going to fix all your woes, that hits them on the emotional side, and they're more likely to purchase because of that. Instead of going through like a rational decision, like buying a tool set, right? Trying to buy tools. You'll look at it very practical. What can you do? What can't you do? What are the positives? What are the negatives? But obviously the fitness industry, that emotional side makes it very, very unique. Now, today's program, we're going to have a plethora of videos that we're going to play, a plethora of audio. And we're taking on the subject of a fat loss diet or somebody that's looking to lose weight, okay? Over the course of time, everybody experiences a plateau, or we experience troubled waters. It's not as easy as, hey, I'm just going to eat this diet that I read online, and I'm just going to lose weight in perpetually. Okay, everything. There's bumps along the way. People get off of a diet. They have a cheat weekend. Holidays come. Your body adapts. There are literally probably tens of factors, depending on the individual, that could interrupt a fat loss diet. So, the way I want to approach this program today is to let you know that's completely normal. The normal course of events of a fat loss diet is going to be probably peaks and valleys. Okay, that's one of the best examples that I can give you of how it should look. It's going to be peaks and valleys. What you want to look at is the overall trend of those peaks and valleys. If this thing is heading in a downward direction over time and you're continuing to lose fat loss, even though there may be periods where your weight fluctuates, that's still a positive experience. That's a positive net outcome for yourself. That's what you want, is weight loss. If, however, the trend's peaks and valleys, that is not a consistent diet that's going to be beneficial for yourself over time. The issue arises that we've got sucked into a society and an industry where we are promised fast results, 20-day fix, 30-day cleanse, lose 20 pounds in 20 weeks, all these different diets that are essentially being sold for profit. It's misinformation, it's exaggerated information, and it's done so on purpose, is what I would argue. I would argue it's done on purpose to profit these individuals that are creating these products or creating these new nutritional handbooks, what have you. It's not the fact that people are creating content for sale that I have a problem with. I want to be very, very straightforward about this. I think this is this is easy for people to misunderstand, because I actually have a book, an ebook that is on Amazon Kindle called The High Protein Diet. You can search, if you're interested in that, you can search my name, Francis Ramsden, and you'll find it there. It's a small handbook. It's like 30 pages. I think it's like $3.99. And the purpose of that book is not to make profit. It's to provide information to people. If I want to make profit, then I'm doing it wrong if I'm charging $3.99. Okay, but these other folks out here that want to charge hundreds of dollars for their program, they want to charge $30 for a book, which, they just repeat the same thing over and over and over. That's their main motivator. So it's not the fact that people create content. Okay, I create content. This podcast is content. Articles, videos, we do it all. Most of which is free. Most of which is free. The issue that I take is that the information that's being provided is done so either on it breaks down to two ways, okay? And there really isn't much leeway. Number one, people are unaware that they are preaching ignorance, okay? Someone that doesn't know all the facts, they don't know the research, they don't have the background, they can't look at data, they're not equipped enough with the attributes in order to create a scientific-based product or a fact-based product. Therefore, they're not meaning to do ill harm, but they are doing so by their lack of knowledge. That's number one. Number two, you have individuals that know the science and research does not back what they claim, but they are either some sort of vigilante, they are a fanatic that we've talked about in this program before, a health fanatic, where they have their one issue, they have their cause, it drives them, and they become like blinders, right? All the facts just bounce off, if it's counter to what they're trying to accomplish, right? So somebody that's all in on a high-fat diet, somebody that's all in on a keto diet, any sort of research that you show them that says, hey, look, high-carbohydrate diets work. No, they're incapable, literally incapable of hearing or even being open to the idea of looking at that research. So that second group is attempting, or they must on some level understand that they are doing harm, or at least are deflecting from the facts, and they know that they're not basing their opinions in truth, even if it's on a deep down suppressed level. They're not dumb enough to not understand it. They get it, but they do it anyways. So today we have a couple videos, and there's this main topic. The reason the fat loss diets become confusing is because of how many different methods there are. Everybody talks about fats versus carbs versus protein, calories. Calories is the big buzzword, right? Do I track the calories? Do I not track the calories? Do they matter? What are they? That's always what what the nutrition side or what the diet side circles back to is calories. And these individuals that push these different diets just fundamentally cannot comprehend the basics of nutrition. It amazes me that we have individuals that want to talk about this high level, these high level diets. We're talking about different hormones in the body. We're talking about insulin. We're talking about the way the liver reacts, the kidneys react, how the intestinal tract reacts. They want to get into this high level biology, yet they can't even understand the first law of thermodynamics about energy. The basics of nutrition. If you take a nutrition class, Nutrition 101 or Nutrition 100 in like a community college, the first thing that they're going to teach you about is calories, what they are, how your body uses it as energy. Well, it is energy, but essentially how your body consumes calories and transforms it into energy and uses it or doesn't use it or stores it. This is basic stuff, and instead we have people circumvent calories. And the reason for that, as you're going to hear in a second, is because a lot of their arguments are based around the macronutrients or are based around hormones. So in order for them to get to their, grand wizard argument, they have to skip right over the easy part, right over the calorie part. That's fine. If that's what they want to do, cool. But then all we have to do, the scientific wing, the intelligent, the articulate, the very, very smart individuals that think about this in a rational manner, all we have to do is ask them about calories then. Okay, you don't want to talk about it? Let me ask you. And you ask them a question about calories. And they go around in circles. They come up with conspiracy theories. And it's kind of fun to watch them squirm. It really is. So today we're going to start with Dr. Jonathan Baylor. Again, don't know much about this guy. This is going to be a video from Sane Solution on YouTube. Jonathan Baylor on NBC's New Day. And he's discussing his book called The Calorie Myth. Well, so before we start, just to make sure we finalize setting the stage before we get into this, in the proper context about what we're looking to do. It comes down to calories. Maintain that. Look, some of these videos we're going to play, they're going to want to talk about fats, the different sources and carbs, and that's fine. But listen to how they talk about calories or circumvent calories or don't want to really engage in calories, or they're going to come up with a conspiracy about calories. That's just the way it is. You're not going to hear most of these people say, look, yeah, calories are calories. That's most important. But then we can optimize by X, Y, Z. They skip right over that part. Okay? Let's start with Jonathan Baylor. You're talking about his book, The Calorie Myth. I don't know the host of the show, so she'll be talking and asking him questions.
What you're essentially saying is not all calories are equal, right?
That's exactly right. But the message we hear is just eat whatever you want. Just don't eat too much of it. Don't exceed 1,200 calories or 1,400 calories. That's nonsense. No one even knew what a calorie was, let alone count them prior to the obesity epidemic. So the sooner we can get back to that.
Okay, stop. So his first thing he says, here we go. Look, you were asked a question directly about calories. Calorie is not a calorie. Explain that to me. Why is it not? Instead, he goes, well, look, people of past history, we were never really obese before this new era that we're in. And so, we should just do what they did because that's proven. They weren't fat. So, let's just do what they did. They didn't know what calories were. So, why should we know what calories are? Well, do you think, let me ask you a question, Dr. Baylor. Do you think our ancestors knew what penicillin was? Do you think they knew what the internet was? Oh, they don't? Oh, get it out. No more internet. No more penicillin. Hey, our ancestors didn't know what it was. They were healthier. We're terrible people. Let's go. You know what? I'm actually sick of this. Jonathan Baylor is a throwback. Okay? He wants to take us back to the Stone Age. Everybody was so much healthier then. Oh, they only lived to be like 35, but you know what? They were healthier. They weren't really dead because of disease. They were just, they were animals. How absurd of an argument is that? How is that the first thing that comes out of your mouth when you're on television and someone asks you a question about calories, you say, what? Hey, our past ancestors didn't know what they were. Why should we? I mean, this is what I'm talking about, folks. The level of stupidity that they have to stoop to is to an absurd level. Let's continue with him and see if he expands upon this.
At approach, just eat food, things found in nature, until you're full and satisfied. The happier and healthier we'll be.
Okay, there it is. There's the genius statement. Let me just eat until I'm full and satisfied, and you'll be healthy. Okay, well, what if I like to eat McDonald's until I'm full and healthy? What if I like to eat meals that are 2,000 calories per meal because I like to go out to the restaurants? I like to go to IHOP and get pancakes everywhere and waffles. Hey, man, that fills me up. Let me just go back to that time. And then, you do that for lunch, breakfast, and dinner. 6,000 calorie diet. Hey, no big deal. I'm eating until I'm full and satisfied.
Okay, so where do I start if I'm trying to work that diet plan? And I use diet in the big way, like meaning what I eat, not some weird thing where it's all around grapefruit twice a day or something like that. So how?
Now, hold on. Now this is great. So she's making fun. The host of this show is making fun of diets, quote unquote extreme diets, or these, it's almost like detox diets and cleanse. Well, what's this guy advocating? Who did you just bring on your program? I find that interesting, and let's see how he responds.
How do I go about starting this?
So first, forget about math. This isn't about math. This is about
fantastic.
food and enjoyment. Right? The dinner table is not a place to do math. It's a place to eat food. And remember what food is. Food are things that we've had on this earth for generations. Things that our grandmothers...
Folks, this guy is a doctor. Let me ask you a question. How intelligent do you feel that this guy is? Now look, maybe this guy's really smart at other things, but right now we're focusing in on this specific idea, this context of calories. How smart is this guy coming off to you? The dinner table is, shouldn't do math there. It's to eat food. That's the purpose of a dinner table. It's not to do math. And, so what's food? Well, food has been on the planet for a long time. Food we eat. Like, I understand this guy's not going on to some scientific conference right now. He's on, a basic network, popular TV show, whatever the hell it is, a good morning show, essentially, and talking about it. So, he might not want to come off scientific. But is anybody else really listening to this and, nodding along? Oh, my God, this guy is so smart. Why did I never think about this before? I'm going to buy this book immediately.
It's told us we're healthy. Things you find on the perimeter of your grocery store. Think non-starchy vegetables, nutritious protein, whole food fats, and lower sugar fruits.
Does this mean that I can't have dessert?
Absolutely not. It's not about not eating sweets. It's about practicing safe sweeteners.
Safe sweeteners. Okay, what does that mean?
That means you're going to want to focus on sweeteners that have minimal impact on your hormones, such as xylitol, erythritol, stevia, and a new one called lohango. These are all natural, very sweet, and they don't clog up your metabolism.
Okay, so and stevia I actually really like, and that's pretty easy to use. The other ones I hadn't heard of, but we'll put all that on the website so people can take a look at that. So, all right, let's talk about the idea of eating more, exercising less, and losing weight. How does that work from a scientific point of view? So, and where do I sign up?
Weight struggles.
This is what kind of bothers me about this industry. Listen how that question is contextualized for him. Look how it's framed. Hey, you're telling people you can exercise less, eat more, and I'll actually lose weight? Oh my God, that's genius. What can we do? Are we at this point in society where we are this lazy? I'm being honest with you, folks. I'm being honest with you. I certainly feel that a certain percentage of the failure of our society to maintain a fitness level that is acceptable and to combat obesity and being overweight most certainly resides in the individual responsibility. Most certainly. I think people complain too much about everything. Oh my God, my drive to work. Oh, my boss. Oh, my student loans. Oh my God. We complain too much as society in general. No one really wants, for the most part, there are a lot of individuals that don't like to work hard. We're being surrounded by technology that makes life easier. So we're slipping into that to think, that things should be easy and done for us and we don't really need to work hard. So that certainly plays a role in why we have 67% of our population in the United States overweight or obese. That number absolutely destroys me every time I have to cite it or look at it or read it. 67% of people are overweight or obese in this country. That's somebody's father. That's somebody's grandparents. That's somebody's kid. That's somebody's neighbor, your best friend, your boss, your employee. I mean, those are us. We are the population. We are. 67% of us have increased health risks because we're not in an acceptable fitness level. And this is not the program where we're going to go off on a tangent about how I feel that number's come about. But let me give you a tip. It is there is a certain percentage. I think it's a minority percentage, but some of us just don't want to put the work in. I think that's very, very, very obvious. Some of us just don't want to do it. Everybody wants the easy way, and that's why these individuals are able to sell these damn books over and over again, rehashed with a different name, with a different energy source as their golden ticket. Something else is vilified. It's because we want that. It's what society wants. It's what the free market system wants right now in the United States. Is some kind of quick fix diet book. They don't want a diet book like mine. They don't want the high protein book where I say, look, you got to work hard. You got to measure some things. You got to have to analyze how your results are coming along. You got to be able to adjust and modify. It's easy stuff. It's easy adjustments. But you got to work. You can't just start eating food and then think that it's never going to happen. And think it's just going to happen for you. So I absolutely despise the way this question is phrased. Hey, tell me how to do this really, really easy. I'm sure this man's going to have some brilliant answer for us. Let's hear it.
Are not a moral failing. It's not as if 70% of Americans have spontaneously become lazy gluttons, although that is what we're told, and it's very sad. What obesity is, it's a disease. It's a dysfunction in a metabolic dysregulation, and we need to see food, whole healthy foods as therapeutic. Once you see the right kinds of foods as therapy that can cure the underlying cause of obesity, eating more of them versus being afraid of them or counting calories.
What the hell is this man talking about? He can't answer a question. He's embarrassing himself on NBC, and then you've got all those people in the crowd nodding their heads like, "Oh, this guy. Oh, this is some high quality stuff." Obesity is a disease because we've allowed it to become a disease. This man just goes on a tangent about, oh my God, our ancestors were never obese, so everything's wrong with us. We're the problem. And now all of a sudden he does a head fake, turns around, gets himself dizzy, and now he's telling us, hey, it's all right to be, hey, we're overweight because it's not because of us. It's not because, hey, it's a disease. We need to cure the disease with the right medicine, which is food. We need to have more food. Not getting into any details about what calorie, it's so disingenuous. He's out there propping his book up, wearing a nice little suit, telling everybody what they want to hear. Hey, it's easy. Hey, just buy this book. It's a disgrace. I had enough of this punk. Maybe he's a nice guy. Don't get me wrong, folks. When we play audio on this program, I'm not playing 20 minutes of audio. Maybe his resume was great. Maybe he's got other content that's great. But on that issue, the guy is dead wrong. Period. He's dead wrong. I can't stand it. Sorry, it's called passion. I get excited. You don't want to come on this program and listen like every other podcast. All right? It's another, a lot of podcasts are an hour, hour and a half, and they're just boring, right? Two people talking. Did you know that high fructose corn syrup, the latest research study shows that, do you want to listen to that the whole time? No, you want a host that actually puts his input in. You want somebody that gets excited about things, gets angry at things, shows a little bit of emotion. Our next expert up is Gary Taubes. Gary Taubes. Gary Taubes. He's one of these guys that helps. I don't know if it's a consultant or if he helps CrossFit, but he likes to give a lot of nutritional seminars for them. I've seen him there. He has an amazing debate with Alan Aragon, who is a trusted source of this program, who we cite plenty of times. They got into a debate about a low-carb diet. Alan, of course, thoroughly destroys the man. And actually, at the end of it, got everybody to raise their... Alan goes, who would you rather be your personal trainer or nutritional coach, me or Gary? And everybody puts their hand for Alan, nobody for Gary. Embarrassing. But that's just the way... Hey, that's the way it goes when you actually put somebody with some common sense up there. So here's Gary Taubes. He's on a radio program, so the audio's a little shoddy. I'm going to try to get us in, try to get it as high quality as we can here. But essentially, the context of this is the guy's asking him, look, Gary, you claim it's not about the quantity of food. You hate calories, you hate calorie counting. You instead tell us we're just not eating good food. So if it's just about the quality of food, hey, can you eat unlimited amounts of good food? And again, simple question. Simple answer if you know the first law of thermodynamics, if you understand basic anatomy, if you understand basic nutrition. Not a hard question, and we'll see him squirm for a minute about not answering the question. So here's Gary Taubes on the issue of calories and versus quality, quantity.
So if the quality of the food you're eating makes the quantity of food you're eating irrelevant, and then people come back to me and they say, well, if I were to just drink, if I were to go on a butter fast and drink 10,000 calories of butter per day for a week, are you saying that I will not gain fat?
Now that's the radio host. Now here comes Gary with his answer.
And how would you respond to that?
Go ahead. Have a good time. That's to me. If you think you can do that, I actually had this conversation with a very good friend the other day who said, I can eat 10,000 calories a day. If I could do 7,000 calories in cashews and 3,000 in heavy cream, and I'm going to get fatter, right? And I said, well, actually, I don't know if you're going to get fatter. I don't know what your body's going to do. I know it's not going to like it. And the 7,000, interesting choice was cashews because they turn out to be 20% carbs by calorie.
All right, Gary, let me help you out since you're all over the place, not wanting to answer the question. If you eat unlimited calories from healthy fats, because you're a healthy fat advocate, you're a fanatic for healthy fats, that's all you want people to eat is fats. You don't want them to have protein or carbs. Look, let me tell you something. If somebody eats unlimited fat, yes, they're going to gain weight, pal. If somebody has 10,000 calories, of cashews and heavy cream, let me just put a guess out there. Unless they weigh a body weight that could sustain that, which is impossible, which is not going to be very likely, or live an active lifestyle in which they're going to be able to burn off that many calories, which is, again, not very likely, they will, without a doubt, gain weight. I don't give a crap if you're going to sit here and tell little stories. You don't want to answer the question, so you're going to dance over here a little bit. Hey, we'll talk about this a little bit. Hey, my friend asked me this the other day. Oh, hey, cashews. Now, could you answer the question? Let's see if he gets to his answer.
So there's your problem. So that's one of the reasons why you can eat 7,000 calories of cashews is because you're going to be secreting insulin that will help you store the get the calories out of your bloodstream so more can get in there. Here's the way, it's fascinating because that's a common response. Are you saying if I do X, like one of the reasons why obesity researchers insisted obesity was caused by overeating is they knew that you can slim somebody down by starving them, right? So you could say to yourself,
Hey, dummy! This is what makes me mad, folks. This is what makes me mad. He just, in one fell swoop, wants to dismiss all science and research. Let me tell you why he wants to do that. Because there is no science and research that supports his claims. Therefore, like I told you earlier, to set this program up, they have to deflect. They have to put the blinders on. They can't be asked these pointed questions. They can't be presented with facts because it's completely counterintuitive. It completely counterpoints what they're trying to make. Oh, well, didn't you know the problem with all the research is that... all it proves is that you can slim down by starving. Hey, dude, let me tell you something. You're human. This is not a moral thing. This is nothing to do with morality or oh my God, we're starving people. We are such bad. It's nothing to do with that. When you look at the human body, it is a machine. It is a product of evolution throughout the decades, throughout the centuries, where it picks up different processes, different mutations come along. This isn't like you just snap your fingers and, here's the human body, like this, it's become a well-oiled machine. And your body has this thing called, again, a third grade term, homeostasis. Homeostasis means the body likes to maintain stability. Doesn't like to fluctuate. Doesn't like to gain weight. Doesn't like to lose weight. Doesn't like to do, high temperature. Doesn't like to run a fever. Doesn't like to be cold. It likes to be the same at all times. So it just runs very, very efficiently. So in order to lose weight, your body, you have to give it less energy than it's using. And therefore, it has to go into its fat stores. It stores energy as fat, pulls that out, breaks it down, uses that as energy, and there you go, there's fat loss. This is very simple. This is so simple science. It's so easy. Instead, you get this guy, their science doesn't show anything. It just shows that you can starve somebody. We all knew that already. It's unbelievable. And he still hasn't answered the question. Can you eat 10,000 calories and not gain weight? I don't care about your friend's story. I don't care what you think about the science and research, morality. Tell me about your own damn opinion. Let's give him one more chance. Here we go. Back to the audio.
I starve myself. For the next 6 months, I'm going to lose weight, right? I'm going to lose fat. Therefore, overeating is an energy thing. I just have to restrict energy. And yes, that's true, but the fact is you can't.
Hold on now. He slips it in. Hold on. Let me see if I can pull it back up. He slips it in there. I'm going to back it up 5 seconds. See if you can pick it up. He slips it right in there at the end. They starve you, and who wants to do that for 6 months? It's awful. And, does it work? Well, yes, it does work. Oh, of course it does. Yes, it does. He slips it right in there. Listen up. Perk your ears up. Listen to this. This is cool. This is golden stuff. Someone should make this a video, and every time he wants to talk about stuff, just replay it.
Restrict energy. And yes, that's true, but the fact is...
You just want to restrict energy to lose weight, and that's true, but I kind of interested now. But what, Gary?
You can't voluntarily starve yourself for the next 6 months, because your body, you are a biological system with all these compensatory, homeostatic phenomena that are going to fight starvation if there is food available.
All right. So, you heard it, everybody. If you lowered your calorie goal by 100 calories, you are now starving yourself, according to Gary Taubes. Congratulations. You're a very bad person. You're morally inferior to Gary Taubes because you're starving yourself. You might have anorexia. You might want to go to the doctors. This is such an absurd. So let me get something straight then, Gary. If you're telling me that I can eat unlimited food because it's quality food, and I end up eating more food than I typically do, does the reverse? Does your does your theory then work in opposite? Does that mean that I'm overstuffing myself? Just curious. I'm going to ask. If I restrict energy to lose fat, well, what if I want to gain muscle then? Does that mean that I am now overstuffing myself? Am I overindulging? Am I committing the sin of gluttony now, Gary? Damn idiot. Had enough of him. Guy is such a... You see, folks, this is what I'm dealing with. And these guys are like top-notch guys in this industry. These aren't some slubs that I just found on YouTube. You want me to do that on one of these programs, I will have a field day. I'm finding these guys that are like highly respected. They're doctors. They're, CrossFit. They're not just some guy sitting in front of his webcam in the basement making a video. I got another one for you. Dave Asprey. We've done a program on Dave Asprey and Bulletproof. If you haven't listened to it, please go check it out. RamsleyFitness.com, latest research tab, filter for podcasts, and find the one for Bulletproof. Bulletproof Coffee, I think we did it on. But that's a good primer for Dave Asprey and where he's coming from. He's one of these guys, again, hey, have all the butter in the world, make a 300, 400 calorie coffee. Yeah, it's great for you. Your brain will be really efficient. He's one of these guys. So here's a video from him. Mind Valley Academy is the YouTube person. Good fats versus bad fats. Dave Asprey, he's being interviewed by a gentleman. And we're going to hear two voices. The first one will be the interviewer, and then we'll hear Dave put his 2 cents in about good fats and bad fats and calories and bad calories. Here he is.
What is this about fats? There's this whole conversation right now where fats are good and sugar is bad.
I wish it was that easy. Some fats are bad, and that's why when you see these questionable things about fat, you can take hydrogenated fat, you can take the seed oils, canola oil, and corn oil, and things like that, and those are actually not good for you. So the idea that proteins good or bad or fats good or bad, it's a big question of which fats are good or bad. And what research is showing is that more of the right kinds of fat give you more energy. And when I say give you more energy, when you digest a gram of fat...
I'm going to pause for a second, because Dave has this problem in his life where he likes to cite science and research as this overwhelming majority when it's complete opposite the case. If you listen to our podcast we did on Bulletproof, towards at the end of the podcast, we were playing some audio from Joe Rogan's podcast, where he had Dave was on with him before, talked about his coffee, how it's the best ever, and Joe Rogan actually bought into it and actually was selling the coffee. Joe Rogan did some more research, found out Dave is full of crapola, pulled the product, came back on and said, Dave comes on here and acts like he's like this expert. He comes and cites all this science and research, and he's just wrong. He can't do that. You can't just act like you're some expert and say everything is this way, and it's complete opposite. And then they went and tested his coffee, and it's a nightmare. So Dave has this little problem where he does these little slips. Oh, yeah, well, all the research now is showing that fat. No, Dave, it does not. It never has. It never has. In fact, a lot of the research shows the opposite, that people are trying to test out these super high carbohydrate diets, especially if you're an athlete, but even in general, a higher carbohydrate diet, looking at the different fuel sources, how your body's using it, periodization of carbohydrates, where some days are high carb, some are low carb. There's some benefit to those, especially when you compare it against a low carb, just a straight across keto or straight across low carb diet. Having some form of carbohydrate seems to be superior, and that's completely new. It's not like 20 years ago research. So he has this little issue, but we'll give him a pass just so we can get to his brilliance. I'm very interested in hearing it.
It has more calories in it, right? Like compared to sugar? Guess what a calorie is? It's energy. Guess what happens when your brain has enough energy? You're happy and satisfied and full, and you want to go kick ass. Guess what happens when you burn sugar? Well, you get less energy per gram, and your body gets hungry very quickly, and it's not happy, it's not satisfied, and it's not full of energy. Instead,
Okay, so his logic is, hey, fat contains more calories per gram, which is true. It contains about 9 calories per gram, 1 gram of fat, 9 calories. 1 gram of sugar or carbohydrate is 4 grams. So his little logic goes, well, since there's more calories in a gram of fat, your body then gets more calories per gram, therefore there's more energy for the brain. That's his logic. Well, then here's my follow-up. And then he goes on with some pseudoscience. Well, look, see, it gets more calories per gram, so you can eat a little less food, get more energy, and you feel good about it. Your brain's very, very happy, and if you have sugar, it feels very, very bad. Okay, great science, Dave. Let me ask you this then: if sugar is only 4 grams 4 calories per gram, well, could you then, according to yourself, eat double the amount of food and sugar that you do fat, and still consume less calories, less energy? Basic math for you folks at home. If there's only 4 calories per gram, well, if you times it by 2, it's 8. 8 is still less than 9, which is found in fat. So if you have 100 grams of fat in a day, you should be able to have 200 grams of sugar in a day, and still less energy. So now I know Dave doesn't subscribe to the calorie. Should I start calling this calorie truth? What should I start calling this? The basic calorie philosophy. The basic calorie nutrition, 101 information. Okay? He doesn't subscribe to it. I get that. But he does correctly state, hey, what are calories? Calories are energy, right? Okay, then, Dave, start to connect the dots. If your body consumes less energy and it's burning off more energy than you're consuming, where does that difference come from? Okay? Or in the opposite fashion. If you're consuming more of this energy and your body's not burning off as much as you're eating, where does this go? It's got to go somewhere, Dave. It doesn't evaporate. It doesn't just disappear. It's got to go somewhere. So he correctly identifies calories as energy, and then he goes on to say, well, fat has more calories, therefore it's better. I don't understand the logic one bit. Like I said, well, then according to him, if you get less energy from sugar, then his response should not be to consume no sugar and just consume fat. It should be to consume double sugar then, right? Am I missing the logic? I don't get it. If that's what he wants to bring up, the whole calories per gram thing, well, then just eat double sugar. Let's keep going on this.
it's seeking more sugar. So the idea is actually calories are not bad for you. Calories do not by themselves make you fat. Calories actually give you energy. So when you're getting your calories from the right kinds of fat, you're less inflamed, you have less cravings.
Oh, I've had enough. Can't deal with all the pseudoscience. It's too much. It's so illogical. You hear him start there. By the way, on the podcast that we did, I'm not trying to hawk that podcast or try to keep promoting it. I'm really not. It's already done with. I've already created it. You're free to listen to it. It's a good podcast. I went through his background a little bit. The guy has no background in nutrition or exercise. The guy's like he's one of these Silicon Valley guys. He's a tech guy, like a computer engineer or something to that effect. He doesn't know anything about the anatomy and the physiology. He doesn't know how it works. So look, that's why he spouts that. Oh, hey man, yeah, dude, just consume good fat, man. You get good energy. He's so out there. He does a lot of sales. I tell you what, though, like I mentioned before, he does a good job of marketing. Bulletproof is, it's a diet, it's a topic that has its loyal followers, but that's about it. That's about it. I mean, it gets a couple people to read it and they buy into it. Oh yeah, I'm gonna try it out. Yeah. But if they're any sort level-headed, they'll end up rejecting it. Well, here we go. So now we've just listened to now that we all have migraines from listening to horrible scientific advice and audio, I have now something that's going to be so relieving. It's going to be awesome. Lyle McDonald from Danny Lennon's YouTube page, and Danny Lennon's actually another great source for you. He's a trusted source. Rams and Elite Fitness verified. Rams and Elite Fitness approved. Both of these guys. Lyle McDonald is fantastic. And he's going to start talking here about Metabolic adaptations on fat loss. Okay, now, big words. What he's trying to get at is, look, when you're on a diet, things happen inside the body which causes you to plateau. No, it doesn't. No, it has nothing to do with sugar. It has nothing to do that, calories in versus calories out is a myth. No, it's not that either. It literally reverts back to homeostasis. Okay, your body is not just going to consume less energy, right? If you just start feeding yourself less energy, or like Gary Taubes says, start starving yourself 100 calories at a time. If you start to do that, your body's just not going to just sit there and just take that and just start losing weight in perpetuity. It's going to adapt to it. It's going to adjust. Usually by burning off less energy until it gets back to the homeostasis and you're back to level ground again so that you don't lose weight. So that's why if you've ever gone on a diet before and it's worked, and then all of a sudden 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks in a row, you're no longer losing weight, it's because you're not changing the diet. Your body is changing though. So it's learned to adjust back to what you're doing now. Dieting is not easy. I tried to get this point across earlier. You can't be lazy. You can't just wish it to happen. There's a lot that goes into this. You have to view fat loss in a proper diet as long term, like as in the rest of your life. You can't just say, I'm going to do it for 30 days and then that's the end of it. That is irrational thinking. Sorry if that offends you, but it's true. And it's time you perk your ears up, listen to Lyle McDonald. He's going to go through some things. Much needed. This is going to be so nice. Here we are, Lyle McDonald.
When you diet, things slow down. When people hit plateaus, fat loss slows down, and we knew that metabolism was adapting and hunger goes up, and there's all these things that are going on. And finally in the 90s, sort of the reason for all this came to the forefront with the discovery of leptin, and that was really a big puzzle piece for me. And basically, when you diet, which to your body is essentially starving to death slowly,
Now, I want to pause because, to be fair, if I'm going to make fun of Gary Taubes for starving, I want to address this with Lyle McDonald. The difference is the context in which they are putting this forward. Gary Taubes was demonizing you for starving yourself, a.k.a. going on a diet. He was demonizing it. Lyle McDonald is stating that as a record of fact, because technically it is true. When you go on a calorie-cutting phase, or you're lowering your calories, your body is, a.k.a. starving in terms of the proper definition. Okay? You are giving it less energy than it's used to. It feels threatened. It doesn't know you want to have a six-pack. Okay? It just knows you're giving it less energy than it actually wants. So it's almost like your body reacts hostile to that and adapts downward to meet the new calorie intake. So you see that the difference, it's very, very important. I'm not excusing away or purposely making fun of Gary, but he's trying to say, hey, look, you don't got to do it that way. That's immoral. That's embarrassing. You shouldn't have to starve yourself. And Lyle's saying, as a matter of fact, when you go on a diet, you essentially are starving yourself. That's what's happening. You are lowering your calories. Your body feels like it's not getting energy. Therefore, it shifts and adapts. Very big difference. If you can't understand that, and you think I'm just bloviating here and making excuses, then it's going to be tough for me to help you get through some of this. But that's two very different statements about the same process, the same mechanism. Let's continue with Lyle.
creates all these adaptations. Basal metabolic rate goes down. The number of calories you burn during activity goes down. People tend to be less active, so they get less of what's called spontaneous physical activity. There's all these other changes to appetite. Hunger tends to go up. Hormones just go off the rails. And so it's just your body trying to keep you from starving to death, which makes a lot of sense. And it all tends to be driven or controlled sort of centrally by this hormone called leptin, which comes from your fat cells, goes to your brain, tells you what's going on. So that's kind of the basic picture, and we knew that this happened. Now, at the extremes, what you're describing is sort of this idea that people that are still on low calories, still training hard, are getting zero fat loss, which would suggest that this adaptation, which can vary in size depending on the person, is somehow completely eliminating that deficit, right? So suddenly they're no longer creating an energy deficit. Now, in the early studies, which were mostly done on men, and I'll come back to this, the absolute magnitude of that change was about 40%, right? So there's a potential drop from starting point of 40%. Now, about 25% of that is just due to a loss of body weight. Smaller bodies burn less calories, and there's really nothing you can do about it. But there's also this adaptive component, leptin, thyroid, nervous system activity, all change, and that's about 15%. But usually when they've seen this at the extremes, it's when people hit the limits of lower body fat. It doesn't ever stop them from losing body fat. They get to 4%, and that's it. It's this huge adaptation, but they still got there. So now there's this claim, like you said, that people who are supposedly still dieting and still on high amounts of activity, just nothing's happening. And I think there's a few things going on.
All right, so I'm going to put my 2 cents in. First point I want to make, can you notice the difference between someone like Lau McDonald speaking and any of the other, I was going to say a bad word, any of the other individuals we had on earlier? Can you just not see the intelligent level, the thinking, the process, the rationale level of this man compared to the others? It's on a different level. It really is. And these are the sort of sources that you should reference, that you should look to for guidance, for information. Even like our podcast. This is who I'm going to cite on my advice. So therefore, you can listen to this podcast and take away things and implement them and know that you should feel safe. They're trusted sources. They're smart sources. So you get way more out of listening to this podcast than you do watching 5 minutes of Good Morning America and they got some schlub on there putting his book out there. Trust me. But so that's the first point I want to make. Look at the difference in the thought process, and he actually understands the mechanisms. He's not saying, "Oh well, if our ancestors didn't count calories, then that means we don't have to care either because it doesn't mean anything." No, he's talking about leptin. He's talking about hormones. He's talking about adaptations. These are advanced processes. But he's putting it in a way that it's just so, he's free-flowing. You see it? He just goes and goes because he knows his stuff. He knows it. So what he's just speaking about here, my next point, the thing that he's going to start talking about here is individuals that claim, look, I'm on a diet, I'm not eating a lot of food, but I'm working out a lot, but I'm still not losing weight. Okay, that's what he's going to address next. I work out a lot. I feel like I don't eat a lot. I'm on a diet, I'm eating a lot of salads, I'm eating a lot of chicken and rice and broccoli, but I'm still not losing fat loss. What's going on here? Okay? Let's let him address this.
There do seem to be differences between men's and women's bodies. The theory is that women's bodies adapt harder to dieting because, they were more important for the survival of the human race, and certainly that is one issue. Most of the studies on this are done in men, and there could be a gender difference. I have seen actually recently 2 case studies, and they were both obese individuals, that their bodies showed such a quick adaptation that it canceled out the deficit. They dropped calories by 500, their metabolism went down by 500, boom, 0 fat loss. But these were obese people, and there's a lot going on there. What I tend to think is going on, and I've seen this a lot, is women, well, not just women, hard training, hard dieting dieters can retain a lot of water. And women already know this. Women can shift, 5-10 pounds of water weight across the menstrual cycle. And, and if you've got a woman who's, the deficit is predicting a pound fat loss per week, if she's holding 10 pounds of water, you're not going to see anything happen for 10 weeks, and it will look like the diet is completely failing. So I think that's a big part of it. And there's a personality type that I will describe politely as being a little bit tightly wound, and they already tend to produce a lot of stress hormones. Like, you can always tell who they are on the internet forums because everything is in all caps and with a lot of exclamation points to the effect of, not losing weight, what do I do? And you can just see the tension in their typing. And they are already overproducing cortisol. They are drawn to huge calorie deficits. They are drawn to hours of cardio. And cortisol goes through the roof, water retention goes up enormously. And very often you can get these people to just chill out. They will wake up 5 pounds lighter. So I think that's a big part of it.
So I want to pause there. So that's, again, absolutely correct. Water retention is a real thing. Water retention is a real thing. Now, I think it's probably, people like to use it as an excuse in terms of the fitness industry, right? I've seen personal trainers go, I've seen a really bad personal trainer with really bad programming, really bad nutritional advice, and the client doesn't lose any weight. Oh, it's just water. It's just water. So there is that component to it, which I think it's almost like being overused in bad context, so people are starting to not believe it, right? But he's absolutely correct. If you retain any sort of water, like he said, if you put 10 pounds, if you're retaining 10 pounds of water, and that comes from a variety of reasons, okay? There's a conjoined reason why that could happen. Like he says, menstrual cycle. If you're on a lower carb diet, you're consuming more carbohydrates. Water tends to follow carbohydrate intake. It might take you a really long time to actually reduce your water retention levels, and you could be on a fat loss diet and actually doing really, really good work on this, on that sort of level with muscles and fat loss, but the water retention is going to look like it's canceling out, and it feels like nothing's happening. If that's the only thing that you're going to measure is just the body scale or something, just scale weight, you might be doing great stuff for 10 weeks, and it looks like you failed. So that's one component of it. The other component, like he says, is this cortisol level thing where people are posting, "Hey, I need help. I can't figure it out. What's going on?" And people are getting really stressed out about it. And stress, if you have increased stress, increased cortisol levels, it becomes a lot harder to lose weight, a lot harder to deal with water retention, et cetera, et cetera. And I think both of these issues, both the water retention and, in terms of the water retention, in terms of not seeing the result on the scale, and then this epic stress reaction to it, is a product of our environment now where we want instant results. Like we talked about in this program earlier. Are these damn individuals that want to promote their stupid books and their stupid information have now convinced all of us that fat loss should be easy, it should happen overnight, and we now have a lack of what I call faith. It's a lack of faith in the process. When I talk to my clients, I preach faith. I said, you've got to believe this is going to happen for you. Having a positive mindset, a positive attitude, is probably more important than making sure that you're counting every single calorie and you're exact on everything that you're doing. To be quite fair to you, that's probably an accurate statement. So we don't have this faith in the process no more. It's no longer like I'm doing the right things. It just hasn't happened yet. My time will come. It's working. I feel better. No, instead I got on the scale this morning. I'm 3 pounds heavier. This is awful. It ain't working. And there goes the 5-day diet starting from January 1st to January 5th that happens every year for most people. That's what happens. This is good stuff. This is really, really good stuff. Let's continue. Only about 2.5 minutes left.
I think another part of it is misreporting food. I'm not going to say underreporting, but let's just say that when you got a small dieter who's on 1,200 calories a day, number one, it's easy to screw up the deficit. When you're on low calories, it doesn't take much of a misestimate. You get into the peanut butter with your tablespoon and you overpack it just a little bit, and it's really, really, really easy to overcome that deficit. There's also a tendency in lean individuals to try to represent their diet as being better than it is, and I think you're not frequently hearing about the misestimated food, the uncounted food, the nighttime binges that are occurring that people don't want to talk about. Because it seems like the people that are really addressing this metabolic damage issue, as they're calling it, what you hear is that the female hard dieter who stalled went from eating supposedly 1,200 unmeasured calories per day to 1,250 measured calories per day. And somehow that magic 50 calories breaks the metabolic damage, and I would suspect that it's the measuring versus the non-measuring that tends to be the case. So I think, yes, there is a metabolic adaptation, and I want to make a point. Because of the fact that this metabolic damage concept doesn't seem to have a lot of backing, I've seen people go to the other extreme. There's no metabolic adaptation, we don't need to worry about it. Okay, that's not true. There is no doubt a super slowing of metabolic rate as you get leaner. That is unarguable, and the data on that is immense. It's whether or not it's ever large enough to completely offset a female on 1,200 calories doing 2 hours of cardio. And I don't think that's the case. I think it's just water retention, a little bit of misreporting. Again, I've seen 2 case studies in 50 years where the deficit truly prevented fat loss, and that was in people who were already clinically obese. So I think my gut, until I see something, and supposedly there's some people who are going to be measuring this directly, and I look forward to that data. Until I see that, I'm going to suspect that it's just severe water retention, a little bit of misestimation of calories on top of the metabolic adaptation.
All right, so that's Lyle, and you hear there he talks about misreporting of nutrition, and I think that's actually probably an accurate statement too. We tend not to report, in my experience, on the weekends, and if you're only doing 5 days, really spot on, but then the 2 days on the weekends, you're not recording, you're not being good on your diet, you can certainly overcome a calorie deficit, especially if it's done, if you're doing a proper diet, it should be a small deficit, it shouldn't be this, I used to eat 3,000 calories, and now my personal trainer from CrossFit wants me to eat 1,000 or something of like just meat and vegetables, like a paleo diet. Like that's not the way that it should work. So if you go from 3,000 to like 2,600, a 400 calorie drop, and you do that Monday through Friday, which is great, but then on the weekend, maybe you are back to your 3,000 calorie diet, or you go crazy and have 4,000 calories because you eat a whole pizza and you have breakfast, and it's very easy then to overcome that small deficit. Or even like he mentioned on a daily basis, if you come home, you eat all the calories you're supposed to, and you're hungry before bed, and you get a tablespoon of peanut butter, well, more than likely it's going to be more than one serving size, just because of how we scoop peanut butter and what a serving actually is. I mean, there goes 400 calories, 300 calories. So that could wipe out your daily deficit that you're trying to create. So, and I don't think it's intentional. But he's right. People don't want to talk about that. People don't want to come back to their trainer and say, look, I had more food than I should have. I didn't record all of it. Or, I try to be good, but we went out to eat on Saturday, and I got, instead of getting the salad with the balsamic vinaigrette dressing, I ended up getting a sandwich or I ended up getting a burger and fries and alcohol, and a beer. That's not something people want to talk about. And I'm not saying it's disingenuous, it's lazy. I don't think that's the issue. I just think we have created this culture in this industry where, hey, it's as easy to do. So if you're not doing it, if it's not happening for you, then there's a reason. And people aren't going to blame themselves most times. They're going to blame the diet or the program they're on or the trainer they're with. It's harder for people to self-reflect and go, you know what, I ate out on Saturday. I shouldn't have did that. That's why I didn't. That's why I only lost half a pound this week, or I maintained my weight. Probably there's going to be water weight that comes with French fries and all that if I'm not really eating that during the week. They don't tend to do that. They tend to say, well, I guess it's not working. Right? So it's a complicated field, but I hope this was a nice conversation about some adaptations to fat loss, what really goes into fat loss, what goes into a proper diet, and why you should really believe that it is calories in versus what your body expends, and aka calories out. You really should fall into that, and don't, because here we are at the new year, here we come. Here come all the detox, here come all the cleanse, here come all the books. Don't fall into these things that promise you great results if you'd only cut out this one thing, or if you'd only start doing, a high-fat diet, this one thing, or this paleo diet, this one thing. Don't fall into that trap. Look at diet for the long term, and this new year say, look, I'm going to create a program, or I'm going to follow one of these trusted sources, or I'm going to buy, Francis Ramsden's book, and I'm going to look at what he instructs us to do, and I'm going to do it for 6 months. I'm not going to do it for 30 days. I'm going to do it for 6 months until June, until the summer. I'm going to withhold all judgment until then, and I'm going to see how it turns out. Now, if people were to do that, I bet you the chances of success go through the roof. I'm just being sincere about it. Number one, I wouldn't have wrote my book if I didn't think I did it in a proper way that people could follow along and get long-term success out of it. Number two, I wouldn't come on the podcast or the YouTube videos or the articles I write and give away free content and talk to you about how to create a better diet if I didn't believe it. I wouldn't put out this information out there. So I'm excited to hear feedback if you guys have it. Facebook, Rams and Elite Fitness. You feel free to comment on any link that we post there. Message us. Email us, ramsandelitefitness@gmail.com. Website, again, is ramsandelitefitness.com. You can go to the contact page there and send us a message there. And we will be happy to get back to you and give you our true thoughts on your comment or question. And more about spread of information. So we look forward to seeing you guys next week. We may delve into more of this ketogenic diet, right? Get more into the fanatical side of it. If Dave Asprey wants to talk about keto, hey, let's talk keto with him. Gary Taubes, if we want to delve into some more of him and expose him a little more, hey, I'm happy to do that too. Start talking about, why our bodies really, why it's not better to be on a ketogenic diet versus a normal carbohydrate, moderate carb, moderate fat, higher protein diet. Why it's not any more superior to that. So again, thank you all for listening. We hope you've enjoyed this podcast. and found it as informative as I did going ahead and preparing for it. Thank you.